And the U.S. is bracing for the impact economically of all of this. One economist who spoke to CBS News estimates that each week of a shutdown will cost the economy, and you see the number right there on your screen, $7 billion. Now, we have team coverage for you on this morning. Nancy Cordes is at the White House. Kelly O'Grady is here with me in studio. But let's begin with Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill. Good morning, Nikole. So Senate Republicans have scheduled another vote on the funding bill for this morning. What are the chances of it passing?
Well, if the last two votes were any indication, it doesn't stand a good chance. But look, Republicans really see these votes as an opportunity to continue to hold Democrats' feet to the fire. They simply are pushing for this clean extension of government funding. And so they feel that anything outside of that should be negotiated separately with respect to Democrats' demands around health care. Interestingly, if you looked at how the vote played out last night, there were two votes, one on a Democratic measure to fund the government, another on the House-backed bill that passed the House, I should say, that funded the government for the next 7 weeks. But with respect to that vote, what we saw last night were two Democrats who broke party ranks along with an independent, Angus King. That was alongside John Fetterman, as well as Nevada's Senator Cortez Masto. So the fact that we saw a few more Democrats voting for the Republican-backed bill is notable. I did ask both Leader Thune and Schumer about that break. Take a listen to what they told me last night.
There are some conversations. There are Democrats who are very unhappy with the situation that they're in. And what we're saying is that we need, as I think was pointed out here, another 5. We need 8 total.
I'm concerned about Americans' health care. That's what we Democrats are concerned about. They're having real trouble. It's going to get a lot worse with this 114% increase. And we feel we're representing our constituents in the best way possible by insisting that Republicans come to the table.
So as you heard there, Leader Thune telling me that there are some conversations happening with Democrats to try to woo them over to their side. And so he expects that some of those conversations will continue. Leader Schumer, for his part, though, is really trying to hold the line here and keep his caucus together in spite of those potential cracks.
All right, Nikole Killion with that breakdown. We appreciate it. Thank you, Nikole. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes now brings us more. Good morning, Nancy. You know, not only will thousands of federal workers now be furloughed, earlier this hour we heard about the psychological impact of that, but we could see permanent mass layoffs too. Any sense of the size of that and the timing?
There really is no indication, Errol, of how large these mass firings could be. All we know is that the Office of Management and Budget has put out the word to all of the federal agencies saying, hey, take a look at your workforce, determine whether there are reductions in force that can be made now while the government is out of funds, and let us know. And so there is widespread concern across the government. We talked to one TSA officer yesterday who said, yeah, everybody I know is worried about this, that perhaps they are the one on the chopping block. President Trump spoke about this multiple times yesterday. I asked him how many people could get laid off. He would only say it might be a lot. And then later, he seemed to suggest, Errol, that perhaps it was only Democratic federal workers who would get laid off. Take a listen to that.
We'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they're going to be Democrats. A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things.
So that is one way in which this administration is putting pressure on Democrats to get on board with this clean funding bill, basically saying that they will go ahead with not only reductions in force, but also canceling major programs that Democrats like.
And Nancy, President Trump appears to be very comfortable blaming Democrats. He's also taunting them on social media, posting images of the Democrat leadership meeting at the White House. And you can see a Trump 2028 hat on the desk. Why is that noteworthy, and what are you hearing about it?
Yeah, in fact, more than one hat sitting there very prominently on the desk, pointed at the two Democratic leaders in the room, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. And that is, of course, a reference to a possible Trump bid for a third term in office in 2028, something that the Constitution does not allow. But President Trump likes to talk about it. He likes the fact that his supporters would love for him to run for a third term. And when he's been asked about it pointedly, he often says, well, you know, the law doesn't allow that right now. It would never really happen. But then he continues to bring it up.
Yeah, those images not subtle at all. Nancy Cordes at the White House, thank you. CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here with us to talk about the economic impact of this shutdown, or at least potential. Kelly, good morning. So in the background of all this, we've got inflation rising, labor market weakening, as we've discussed so many times. So what economic impact should we expect?
So, I mean, generally, this brings even more uncertainty into the picture. And you know, investors don't like uncertainty. Consumers don't like uncertainty. You mentioned that $7 billion per week figure. I do want to put that into context because you say that number and you're going, wow, that's really big. It is only 1/10 of 1% of U.S. GDP. And so that's sort of the rule of thumb. When you put it into that context, it's not that big. I don't want to downplay the effect, but for consumers, you're still going to get your Social Security benefits, your Medicare benefits, those types of things. If you've got applications at any of those programs, maybe that takes a little bit longer. But you think about the trickle-down effect of a fired, or rather a furloughed federal worker who's not getting paid. They will get that back pay, but the person that they're paying rent to, right? How does that trickle down? And that's sort of where you see those long-term economic effects. But I will say normally it bounces back pretty quickly once the government reopens.
It's a good point you make, that if they're not being paid in real time, they then can't spend that money in the economy. The labor market also says it won't release the September jobs report now that the government is stalled. That was supposed to come out Friday. What does missing that data mean?
Okay, so this is really important because this is the data that the Federal Reserve will use at the end of the month when it meets next to determine interest rate decisions. Remember the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they also release the inflation data that would come out next week, and it would follow if we're still in a shutdown. We wouldn't see that. We need that data. The Fed needs that data. And a lot of analysts that I'm talking to are saying if they don't have more of a picture of how the labor market is doing, how prices are doing, they might be more cautious at that meeting. And they might say, you know what, let's wait and see. Let's not make any moves. Or they could even delay that meeting. So a lot of folks at home, I know you're looking for lower interest rates, lower mortgage rates. There's also a trickle-down effect there that could happen.
So despite the administration wanting more cuts, ironically, this action may delay that from happening. Kelly, great insight. Thanks so much.